Good morning. It's 9 a.m. Monday, February 6, 2023. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve claims dated February 6, 2023 in the amount of $361,790.38.
Move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kurt. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve Drainage District 13 stamped warrants payable dated February 6, 2023 in the amount of $18,979.81.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Danny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Jim, do you have any word on the latest status of it?
I saw that email, I saw the agenda Friday, and I was gonna do it over the weekend. Of course, I neglected, I just sent an email to, or text to
Okay.
him to see. His last communication said they should be operational by the end of the month, which would have been January, so if I get anything back, as we sit here, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is discussion and possible action on a request from the Prevent Violence Coalition for permission to place blue pinwheel, wreaths, and child abuse prevention signs at the Muscatine County Courthouse, County Jail, County Attorney's Office, and the Community Services Building for April's Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month with Jenna Wagner. Is Jenna here?
I don't see her.
I thought she was coming, but
Well, this is something we do every year. It's a really nice activity on their part, and basically she always is here, and we always say yeah.
It's different this year,
Oh,
though.
is it?
It's different in the sense of they want to,
You wanna place
they
the
want to place
entrances and signs inside
inside the
building.
buildings this year, as opposed to in the past, they've run their pinwheels and their banners on the courthouse lawn.
and I think in front of the jail they've done pinwheels along the sidewalk before.
And along the front of the jail, but it's a different situation now, in that they want to bring these goods inside the buildings, and I know I had a letter from Felicia that Felicia was not in favor of it at her facility in regard to keeping track of that and the small children that are there throughout that building and so on and so forth, so she was not in favor of it, I know.
Well, I don't know what our policy is regarding, postings within the buildings. I know we have a board here, and I think we have a posting policy. So I support the cause, and we've always allowed this on the grounds, but I think if we start allowing this inside the buildings, then we need to make sure we're consistent with other groups that ask it, and just think through what we might be willing to allow and what we may not be willing to allow.
Well, and it sets a precedent as well for whatever may come down the pipe on.
There's no limited good causes.
Yeah, it's not that it's not a great cause, I think it is, but myself, I would be in favor of the extent of what's been done previously.
I would
I think
second
that
that.
makes sense.
Yep, I would agree with that. I'm okay with as in the past, but not the expansion into the buildings.
Yeah. With that,
So would you like to,
I'll
make a motion to that effect, that we would allow the placement, as done in the past.
Okay,
I'll second that.
got a motion by Jeff, a second by Danny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Items with Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furnace. Eric called me and he's ill today. He said if we need to get him on speakerphone, we certainly can. But the item is discussion and possible action on the following items related to accessing Community Development Block Grant CDBG Fund.
So based on Eric's memo, this is the $22,000 for the buyout of the floodplain property.
Right.
So this is a $22,000 decision, right? I read through all of these policies. I know, Jim, you probably looked at them. I have a number of concerns with a number of the policies.
I looked at the excessive use of force policy, particularly, and provided a response with our current use of force policy in the sheriff's office, which isn't markedly different. They use excessive force as the words they use, and the code uses reasonable force, and so I don't think we're particularly far off base there. The other one I looked at was the low-income housing, which we don't have. I don't believe we have any current low-income housing out in the county, but there's a relocation effort as a part of that, and
Yeah.
so.
Well, that was one of my,
concerns.
my concern was that whole relocation language, and the county's not in that business, and I think that opens the taxpayer up to a significant liability if we adopt that policy. I didn't like their fair housing policy. Not that I had a big issue with the fair housing policy, but it mentioned an executive order, which I have no idea what that is, and I'm not really inclined to approve carte blanche executive orders. We have a legislative process in this country. So I just saw enough of those policies that I'm not on board with adopting them. And I still think that the project is a good project to do that buyout. And I was wondering, Nancy, could we use those LATC funds that we had to fund that 22,000 shortfall?
You certainly could use some of those funds. For this individual, when he was originally approached about a buyout, he was told that we would do the buyout if he funded the 22,000. The board specifically said they would not use county funds to fund that 22,000. So the deal before was he needed to fund that, and then when the CDBG came along, we
There
thought
was
we'd
a
reach out for it,
potential.
because we've done that a number of times in the past, but we found this time that the rules have changed significantly in terms of that CDBG money, so.
I don't know what was agreed on in the past on the 22, maybe we gotta put that on agenda and have a discussion about it, but I've read through all these too, and I'm not crazy about really any of them, so I wouldn't support getting the grant money, under the terms that they are asking us to.
There's just a lot of things in there that if we adopted these policies, we'd have to set up a housing person, and, you know, again, we don't have that staff, so we'd add staffing. It's just a growth of government problem I have. It's like, I just don't think that's a business the county wants to get into.
And we'd be on the hook for replacing all occupied and vacant occupiable lower income dwelling units. I mean, we're not a housing contractor, and I don't think for 22 grand, we wanna put ourselves in a position where we're, taking on every single restriction and thing that Uncle Sam can come up with.
I think all these rules and regulations really ties our hands to be able to move forward with it. I'm not in favor of it whatsoever.
Well, so then I think we
Is that a
just,
consensus?
we
Yeah,
have
we
a
have a
consensus
consensus.
of the board
I
that
believe here
we're
that-
just not gonna do it.
That the board isn't interested.
And then do you want an agenda item for next week talking about, whether or not the county will fund the 22,000?
Well, I have a text I just got from Eric saying it was either he funded the 22,000 or if other funding became available to cover the 15% local share.
Yep, that was the original agreement.
So I would go back and see, you know, I'd have Eric see if there's a hardship, or if there's not a hardship, then let it go, or if there is a hardship, then he could come ask the board for that, and we could see if there are other funding options.
Okay,
Yeah. All right, very good.
I think it's a good project, you know, I think to get it out of the floodplain is a good positive step, but I wanna do a deal with the devil.
Okay, very good. Next up is discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the January 30, 2023 regular meeting.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kurt. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Correspondence. Jeff, do you have anything?
Nothing to note, or I didn't write anything down.
Nathan?
Just some information with my various committees, but nothing really specifically from the public.
Okay. I had nothing to note. Danny?
I didn't have anything this week either.
Kurt?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Why we?
Committee reports. Jeff, do you have anything?
Well, on the 31st, we had the conference board.
Yep.
That was it.
That was it?
Same.
Same? I had exactly the same. Danny?
Same.
Yep.
And Kurt, same?
Same.
Same? I've never seen this happen before. When like that.
Slow week, I guess.
Yep. Next is items with the administration office. First is action to affirm the current authorization for a credit card with a $5,000 limit for community services.
Yeah, they currently have a credit card that was approved years ago, but in trying to switch companies, the bank that they're trying to switch to is insisting that they have to show proof of board action, that this credit card was approved and the credit limit was set, and they were approved long enough ago that you just did a kind of a blanket thing. It didn't spell out any specifics, so.
They just changed financial
Yep.
institutions.
Yeah, I would move for the approval for that.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve the appointment of Rebecca Bovenmeyer to the Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission for a 2-year term ending 1/1/25.
This is the second of the 2 additional, seats that you approve for this board, for this commission. And this keeps us in check with equity, gender balance issues. And the reason it's a 2-year term instead of a 3, when we added the 2 new positions so that we could continue to have staggering of how many are up each year. We made one initially a 3-year term and one initially a 2-year term.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
I got a motion by Jeff, second by Danny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything other, Nancy?
I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Next is receive information from county employees. Do I have any county employees that wish to address the board at this time? Morning, Jim.
Good morning, thank you. A couple of things I did hear back from Rod. They're down there this morning in hopes of a startup on the new pumps, so I'll see what we get back in terms of any further information, so. I also wanted to give you a heads up that Nancy and I have been discussing as we've been trying to hire a new fine collections coordinator, the possibility of moving that office back to the county attorney's office. And so I wanted to let you guys know that we're considering that. I'm meeting with staff this afternoon to discuss that possibility, the advantages and the disadvantages. I've always preferred that they be under the same roof, and as we have lost the coordinator and we're trying to hire a new one, it's become evident to me with just security and concerns at the courthouse with people that come in, and a lot of people aren't happy that maybe at the end of the day we could better oversee and manage it if it was in our office or behind the protected barrier, so to speak. It would obviously put more people in the office and we'd have to do some rearranging. The downsides that I see would be that it's not as easy for somebody to walk from the clerk's office to that office. That's not a super frequent event, so there might be a little bit of public discomfort coming back and forth between offices. But at the end of the day, I think from a management standpoint and protecting staff, we had an incident last week where somebody had to be asked to leave that was upset with what they were being requested to do. And so I'm thinking maybe it's a good time for a transition barring mutiny in the office. But I wanted you guys to be aware, in case you've heard or were approached about it, that it wasn't something you were blindsided with. It is a change.
They're currently located right next door to the clerk's office in
Right.
that small conference, what was a conference
First
room?
floor.
First floor.
You're right.
You've got enough square footage in your facility?
Well, somebody'd have to move to the basement. That might be me.
Well,
But
shouldn't be
it's
any issues
not a
there.
bad place for me. And then we could use one of the offices and then use the space that we left there when we just did the remodel. And the downside is in the future, if there is a need for more employees, whether that be legal or secretarial, we are confined. So if we make that move, I would do it with the reservation that the empty office up on second floor of the courthouse remain available if we needed to move back. And it's just
Is that two people?
it is two people.
So it would be two people that would move, and that's still within your office budget, their wages and all of that.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Okay?
Thank you. Do I have any other county employees that wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none. Next is receive comments from the public. Do I have anyone from the public that would like to address the board at this time? Yeah, state your name and address, please, and your issue.
Well, good morning. My name is John Paul. I live at 136 Ninehouse Street here in Muscatine. And I'm joined this morning by Larry Driscoll, commander of our local American Legion. And as adjutant, I have been asked by our commander, Larry Driscoll, to represent the members of the Muscatine E.H. Bitzer American Legion Post 27 here today. Our post, which was chartered in 1920, has a long-standing tradition of supporting Muscatine veterans and organizing and doing community projects. One of these projects has been a decades-long tradition of the placement of grave flags on the graves of local deceased veterans in all 3 cemeteries in Muscatine. These grave flags are normally obtained from the local Veterans Affairs Office and are provided through the Muscatine County Community Services Director's Office, using, we believe, local funding. New flags are placed on the veterans' graves by our members and volunteers from the community just before Memorial Day. This has always been organized by our American Legion Post. It has been a tradition in Muscatine to allow these flags to fly on the veterans' graves year-round and then replace them with new flags each year. We learned around last Memorial Day that the local Veterans Affairs Administrator and the Muscatine County Community Service Director had an objection to allowing these flags to fly year-round. Now, we were told last May by the local Veterans Affairs Administrator that unless we agree to remove the flags a few weeks after Memorial Day, we will be furnished no more flags. This is the first instance of anyone telling us they objected, for any reason, to the flying of these flags year-round. We have done some research, and we are aware that some Iowa communities do take down their grave flags, but some fly them all year. We have also found that although there are recommendations from various sources, there are no laws or regulations governing the display of these grave flags. Our community tradition and expectation is that they stay up and fly on the graves all year. Meeting with the Community Services Director, we learned that she believed that allowing the flags to fly all year was a desecration of the U.S. flag, and that she wanted us to take down the flags a few weeks after each Memorial Day so that they could be stored and then reused the next year. Our post does not believe flying these flags year-round is desecration of the flags. Our definition of desecration does not include wear and tear from natural causes, weathering, nor from an unintentional proper disposal of the flags. We believe desecration must be an intentional act of disrespect. We also believe that any effects of wear or unintentional practices can be remedied through training and systematic inspection programs. We do not believe surviving family members and other members of the community would want these flags removed from these veterans' graves. After several meetings and written communications with the Community Service Director, we have been unable to resolve this issue. We have not been able to get a definite yes or no regarding her commitment to furnishing grave flags to our post. We have been unable to get a clear understanding of her intentions. We wish to continue this decades-long tradition of flying the flags on veterans' graves year-round in order to honor them, and in response to numerous expressions of appreciation for this practice from members of the Muscatine community. We have had success in soliciting volunteers for this program from the community and our membership each year. We have sponsored and organized the replacement of these grave flags just before Memorial Day for many years. We have conducted ceremonies each year in June to honorably dispose of the unserviceable flags. We wish to continue this public service tradition. we are asking the Board of Supervisors to do what you can to help us, your local American Legion post, to assure that we receive enough gray flags each year to continue flying them year-round. Thank you for your attention. That's it.
First of all, I'd like to thank all you guys for your service. I mean, there's nobody I appreciate more than veterans. I have a son that was in Afghanistan and several family members. Although I didn't serve, I really appreciate everything you guys do. And we probably knew this was coming to the forefront. I'm told many communities don't even pay for these flags, and it is, I think we budgeted $5,000 or $6,000 this year for those flags. And I've seen plenty of them laying around, lawnmowers hitting them. I heard where there was 10 or 15 of them that squirrels gathered and made a nest out of. That's not what I want to see happen to our flags out there, you know, and that's a lot of money to spend each year, and like I said, other communities don't give that money to whether it's the VFW or the Legion for that, and I think that's something we do, and I think what she's trying to do is maybe save some of that fund, because that budget for the veterans portion over there, maybe you know the number, Jeff, it isn't a great amount, and that $5,000 a year could possibly be used for veterans that are still living to help benefit some of the services they need. It's just something to think about. And I know she's offered to help with volunteers to take them up and put them down. It's a delicate subject. I like the flags out there all the time, but I mean they're getting the hell tore out of them, and they cost $6,000 a year. That's kind of where I stand on where she's coming from, but you know, it's just a delicate situation that we got to figure out how to come together on.
I'd like to make a comment. My name's Larry Driscoll. I am the commander at Post 27, Muscatine here. In regards to the flags that you're seeing out there, we talked to the cemetery director over there at Greenwood Cemetery. She said when a mowing individual hits a flag, they bring them in and they ask her for a new flag, and they put those flags for disposal. Flags that are being torn up by kids walking through there or something like that, if we see that, we go ahead and put a new flag out there. We can't police that cemetery 100% of the time, but when we see a flag, we have individuals that walk through there, they see flags that need to be replaced, they will replace them if they have one or can get one. As far as, we know it's a lot of money for this flag, but if you talk about individual flags, you're talking about approximately 78 cents per flag for one flag. We know there's a lot of them, so that increases the number, and it looks really bad, but we're only talking about one flag for one individual. So who are we gonna say doesn't get a flag?
How many veteran grave sites are in the county that you're aware of?
In Muscatine, the three cemeteries we put on Greenwood, St. Mary's, and Memorial Park. We ask for approximately 3,200 flags a year, and we use every one of those flags.
So at 78 cents a pop, 3,200 flags, that's somewhere around 2,500 flags?
$2,500?
Well, no, $2,500.
Okay.
So how are we going through $5,000 or $6,000 a year?
There's other cemeteries in the county that also get flags.
Okay, so the ones that you guys use, you're only picking up 3,200 or so.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know, you mentioned, I got a couple questions actually, so let me let you finish your point if you had anything else before I interrupt you more.
We've always done this, and we haven't had any objection from anybody in the public. We can't understand where this is coming from. Why is it coming up now that it's a problem, if it's not a problem with maybe wanting to move the money somewhere else that they feel is more important?
It's not moving the money somewhere else. I think we got a new director that's trying to be a little more responsible with the funds. It's gonna stay with the veterans. That money is never going to another group or another agency.
Yeah.
They're just trying to utilize those funds maybe better so that the veteran services can be improved in other manners.
Yeah, if I look at the budget for next year, it's a pretty good increase, and it's about $25,000, what I'll call in discretionary items. Would that be a fair statement, Nancy?
Yes.
And this would be, fit into that category, so of the $25,000 that they're, this pays for grave markers, it pays for, helps vets with rents, and if we have vets in shelters, it helps with their rent payments and all those things. So I think that what this board does is we give budget, we fund budget, and then the commission is responsible for that budget and where they allocate those dollars. So we don't have a lot of say dollar for dollar,
We can't
other
tell
than
them
what
to
the
do
dollars
with it.
are. When we get about a $10,000 from the state, a grant, and the rest of it's funded through the county taxpayer dollar.
Basically, we're just asking
So
to
you-
figure out
this-
what we're gonna do, because we have a lot of individuals in the community that ask us, what happened to the grave flag that was on my loved one's grave, and why aren't we flying them all the time? So that's all I can tell you. We're trying to stick up for the people that are in the graveyard that can't speak for themselves.
Mr. Paul mentioned, through rigorous inspection and training procedures that the desecration could be mitigated. Is that something you guys are talking about doing, or are you having other people
Yeah,
do it?
that's something we've discussed. We have a monthly meeting of our members, and we've been discussing that among other things, and we could, right now, we have kind of an unofficial, informal inspection program. Whoever wants to go up there goes up there and looks and tries to replace flags that are needed. But we could organize a formal inspection program, conducted by the American Legion, where we could go through there every month or so, or something like that, and, inspect that and replace flags that are needed to be replaced. So, that's what we were talking about, also maybe putting, the proper disposal, containers out there in the cemetery, so that if they have to dispose of a flag, they can do it with some respect and, properly.
Do you know if there are any regulations or direction or anything put out by the National American Legion that talks about how to properly display flags?
There's recommendations, and, they, as far as disposal of the flags, that's normally, a set ceremony conducted by each post in each community. It's once during the year where they dispose of the
'Cause-
flags in a ceremony.
Well, I asked because I'm on the American Legion website right now, and they
Yeah.
specify the United States Flag Code, Title 4 of the USC, Chapter 1, which is a law. And Section 7 and 8 talk about position and manner of display. And Section 8 is respect for the flag. And I know you stated your position that a flag can only be desecrated intentionally.
Right.
But Section 8 E says the flag should never be fastened, displayed, used, or stored in such a manner as to permit it to be easily torn, soiled, or damaged in any way.
Yeah,
So I mean that's code. That's contrary to what you're saying.
well, I don't
And
know how they enforce that code. I mean, usually laws and ordinances are enforced.
I mean,
This is not,
I'd say
this
there's
is
a
a
difference
recommendation
between
as far as we're
enforcement
concerned.
and violation.
Say again?
I'd say there's a difference between enforcement and allowing it to be violated. Now,
Yeah.
I did not serve. I echo Danny's respect.
Yeah.
I was an Eagle Scout, so I do have some great respect for the flag that was cultivated in me. And I just wonder. I completely understand. I see the flags there. I have family members that were killed in conflict, and I want them treated with the absolute respect. But I don't think it's a money thing. I think, especially having talked with our new commissioner, Mr. Sanders, who I'm sure you've spoken with, he's concerned about what he sees as desecration.
Yeah.
And I mean, just looking at what the code is, and again,
Is there anything in the code, what's your guys' position on the flags being lit? I mean,
that's
a
in the
year
code
out
too.
there.
They're supposed to be lit at night. They're not
Yeah.
supposed to be displayed in inclement weather.
They're not supposed to be, if they're tattered, they're supposed to be replaced. If they're
Right.
up at night, they're supposed to be illuminated. And if you walk around the county or the city, you'll see that's not observed at all.
Does
We'd
that?
like to have Ken make a comment.
Sure, yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ken Rockles. I'm with the Durant American Legion Post. I live in Walcott, Iowa. These gentlemen talk about the three Muscatine cemeteries. The Durant Cemetery is in Muscatine County. That's why I'm here. We have the same problem, what you're talking about. We would lose the funding for those flags, which our gentleman comes down and gets them from Muscatine County. Because the cemetery is in Muscatine County. Our problem, especially mine, is if we take them down, which, of course, the first thing you gotta realize is when you read that about the American flag, it's flag etiquette. You can call it code, but it's etiquette. You read that, you read whatever you want to in it. But you do not have to basically do anything. You know, you always did a Boy Scout, if the flag touches the ground, you're supposed to get rid of it. Flag etiquette. You know what etiquette is good for? You really don't have to do nothing. There's no law or anything. It's flag etiquette.
Sir, it's the law. Whether you
It's
call it
etiquette.
etiquette or not, it's in the United States
Yeah.
Code. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we need
I
to,
agree with you.
you know, I'm just telling
I
you, when
have
you guys
one
say
lady-
it's etiquette, it's also code.
I have one lady that if you take that flag down off her husband's marker, she will have one back up the next day.
Good.
I mean, it's just a fact of what it is. So, I'm in favor of the county providing them because they started that. That's what they wanted to do at the time, and I don't understand why all of a sudden we get a new director and she changes everybody's ruling that was made a long time ago. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what they're trying to accomplish here is trying to stretch their budget dollars and utilize these dollars is what I think is the motivation behind this personally, in regard to pulling these flags down and as opposed to getting 1 year service from that particular flag. If they fly X amount of weeks, that they're probably looking at saving, probably getting multiple years out of a flag would be my guess. And I take it from the group, and I've had a number of conversations that's not what the group wants to do, strictly because of history. Would that be a true statement?
Yes.
Strictly out of history. Okay.
And because we get comments from the community,
Sure.
they want to maintain this tradition.
There are other posts that take them down, but they don't use them the next year. They dispose of them at a flag retirement ceremony. So they don't use them over, even though they take them down after Veterans Day.
We talked to Keokuk National Cemetery and Rock Island National Cemetery, asked them what do they do. They said they take them down after Memorial Day, and we said, why is that? Because of some regulation or law? And they said, no, that's for convenience of mowing. They said there's no law that they know of that makes them take those flags down.
Well, I guess I could see that as part of it, but I think the driving force on this is to try to stretch these dollars is what I think I'm seeing.
We had not too long ago. In fact, I sit on the commission. I don't have a vote, so I can't help you guys one way or the other. But I'm on that commission, and I remember, it was a few months ago. I think I talked to you, Mr. Driscoll, on the phone, and I went and asked Eric Sanders, the commissioner, for a meeting, and he and Felicia were there. But before we could start talking about the flag issue, they shared with me that a veteran had just that day or week, I can't remember exactly how long it was, committed suicide in the car in front of his home. Some of you may have heard of that, some of you may have not. Had some pretty severe PTSD and some other conditions. And what it occurred to me, I would never try and speak for anyone, but if some extra services could have been offered to that gentleman who had a small kid and a wife, what a different world it would be for that family. And so I obviously have no idea knowing what could or might have made a difference there. But when Mr. Sanders and Ms. Topper tell me that they see that they can allocate this money if they're able to save it. Again, it's not just about funding, I think, as the other gentleman have pointed out, but if you can do that and save a life, that's pretty, that speaks pretty powerful to me. Again, I don't have a vote, but that's something that really resonated with me.
There are veterans in the cemetery that have committed suicide, and all we're asking for is a single flag to honor, that's what we can do with what we have.
Well, to be fair, sir, that's not what you're asking for. Because
Certainly is,
well, you said you want about $2,500 worth of flags, which, fine.
one per person.
But you've also said you walk through, and if you see them get chewed up, get mowed, you're replacing it, right? You wouldn't have to do that if you picked them up.
But I would like to invite the board to come and try and put them out the next year when you don't know where they're at. There's no markers. We're
Mr.
short
Sanders, I
markers
believe, has
around.
talked to you about a mapping program, has he not?
We can't even get Eric to come to our meeting. I've invited him to a post meeting so he sees what we do.
I understand
I've
he's gone to a
invited
couple of them.
Felicia,
He's a
and
member,
she
but he
even
won't come to the meetings, is that right?
Huh?
Now I've heard he's encountered some,
One at a time.
so he has spoken to me, and I can't tell you I wasn't there, but he said he's encountered some disrespect.
No. He
Okay.
came to the meeting and he confronted 3 of our people first,
Okay,
and all we did was get up and leave.
okay. But
But it wasn't
but
at a
right now
meeting.
you just said something that you said he doesn't come to the meetings, and then you said he did.
It wasn't at a meeting,
Oh, it wasn't.
no.
Okay.
It was at a dinner after Memorial Day.
Okay. Okay.
At the
So I
VFW.
just want to be clear.
Yeah, no, he didn't come to a meeting, he hasn't been to a
Appreciate
meeting.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think, I don't know if you caught this in the presentation, but we cannot get a yes or no from her, okay? And
On-
one of our
on
main,
what?
on whether she's gonna furnish us the full complement of grave flags next May, okay? And in following May, in the following years. That's one of our main concerns. If we knew for sure whether she was or was not gonna do that, then we can take maybe other steps to assure flags are flying on those graves year round. You understand what I'm saying?
So,
We need to know, is she gonna give us flags or not give us flags?
well, she's always gonna give you flags, I'm pretty confident of that. She would like to give you less each year from using what's left over and then filling in the holes from what's been, either came up missing or destroyed, or, you know, in that short time they're out, maybe. So you're never gonna lose the flags, now we just gotta determine or decide if we're gonna continue to pick them up or leave them out.
Are you saying that she would give us the flags, we would put them out, then she would find some other organization to pick them up? And then give us the flags again next year, the same flag?
She had mentioned to me that she would help get volunteers to put them out and pick them up if that's what you guys needed.
No, we don't.
We don't need it.
We don't need the volunteers to put them out, but I'm saying good luck in finding volunteers to pick them up.
But you would be okay if they did find volunteers?
Well, if she wants to pick them up, what we're gonna do is, we'd probably find a way to put other flags on those graves after she picked them up, because we're gonna make sure flags fly on those graves year round. But we need to know whether she's gonna give us flags or not.
But I think, this is, I've been sitting back and kinda on the edges. John, I think we've known each other for a long time, right? And this to me strikes me as we have a couple of groups that have kind of dug in their heels. The reality is that there is a Veterans Affairs Commission in the county, a group of individuals and a director that manage budget that this board sets. We have limited to no control over that, and that's by design by the state. That office runs itself, and the veterans on that commission run that. It seems to me that if individuals were of an open mind and the ability to sit down and discuss it, and discuss, what the issues are, that there's a resolution to everything. I firmly believe that.
I would hope so.
But I think you have to sit down with an open mind and have a willingness to discuss it and a willingness to, maybe we have to change our traditions a little bit. Maybe we don't, I don't know. I don't have a dog in the hunt, as they say. I know that, I think I read something reasonable, I believe they fully intend to allocate $5,000 a year to flags. And where those flags go, I don't know, and how that process happens, I think is the question.
We met with Jody Royal Goodwin in December and talked about this issue with her. And she advised us to present it to you guys, to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, you know, I'm under the assumption from what she told me that the flag money was gonna stay intact going forward. And I wanna have that conversation with her to make sure we're on the same page. So I think we'll talk to her and see where that's at, and maybe we can get her together with your group and discuss this to try to come to a resolution that works for everybody. If you guys are adamant what you wanna do with those funds, then I would probably be in support of that with her if you guys are adamant. But to me, those funds could be used for live veterans, which are very important to me.
Yeah.
Not that the ones that passed away aren't. But
Yeah.
I think
Well,
like Jeff said, we just need to
If
sit down
they
and
are,
figure this out.
Yeah, if they are shifted to, support of, living veterans that need it, we would like to know, I mean, is there any accounting of that? I mean, we would like to know how many more veterans are actually served
Well-
by doing that.
Every month at the Veterans Commission meeting, there's a report on that. It's a public meeting. It
Okay.
happens. We just changed the date recently, so I
Alright.
can't remember. But,
We-
and if you give Eric an email address, he'll send it to you.
Yeah, all right.
She was here for budgets a few weeks ago, and she spoke about 2 suicides by veterans. I think
Right.
both within a mile of this office. One to the west and one to the east.
Yeah,
And I don't know if those funds would have changed that, but those are things I'd like to see that money try to change.
yeah, we'd like to see it changed, but, like I said, if she has a comparison over the years of whether more veterans are being served, we'd like to see that. Okay, thank you for listening.
I think we can come to a resolution. We'll figure it out.
Thank you all.
thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, everyone. Do I have, anyone else from the public that would like to speak on an issue? Seeing no one come forward. It is 9:42, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.